Hi, I'm Justin Thames, Director of Governmental Affairs for the Florida Institute of CPAs. And welcome to Impact Report, your update on all things impacting the CPA profession here in Tallahassee and around the state. So the last couple of weeks, really months, have been pretty busy with the pandemic. We've sent out a lot of updates, put it on our website. You've heard from a couple of our U.S. senators about what's going on up in Washington, D.C. about the pandemic. We're continuing to push out as much information as we can when we get it, and also to advocate on your behalf in front of any of the agencies that we have reporting deadlines. So keep that information flowing back and forth to us here in Tallahassee so we can better assist you during this time. We know that you're all extremely busy, and so we want to keep this brief today. Coming up, the July 15th deadline, there's been the IRS has been providing a lot of information for the extension into October 15th, so I know that that's really on the horizon first and foremost for a lot of you over in the tax world. Here at the state level, the governor has signed the budget, which is good news for us because there were two initiatives in there specifically that we advocated for during the legislative session. The Clay Ford Scholarship, which helps minority students get their 5th year of accounting and become CPAs, and then also the Unlicensed Activity Fund that helps combat unlicensed activity within the state as well. So both of those initiatives were included in the budget. Now, the governor did use his veto pen pretty heavily because leading up to the pandemic and the end of session, there was about a little over a $93 billion budget. The governor has cut that tremendously to help kind of alleviate some of the strain on our state's budget from the pandemic. We saw a lot of losses from revenue based on shutting down the economy for a couple days. So really, I think we're about a 1.5 billion below estimates based on our sales and use tax revenue that was supposed to come in. So this could be a huge hole in our budget. But thankfully, because of what the governor did with his veto pen, cut back on some of that spending, a lot of those projects. So it shouldn't be too bad. We still got one more month of revenue to see if it comes in, what it's going to look like. So all that to say, we could end up in a special session, but probably not until November. If there's a huge budget shortfall by then, they may have to plug some holes. But the legislature did the very best they could to position the state well enough to weather this storm. So that's good news for the taxpayers and for those of us in the business community, especially when we need some good news. Another issue I want to let you know about that some of you may have read in the news here recently in Florida Trend and also in the Sun Sentinel. Governor also signed the DBPR, Governor's Deregulation bill. We've talked about that for the last couple of years, and we talked about how that it would have some impact on the profession. Well, unfortunately, in the Sun Sentinel article, it was referenced and basically said that the bill would delete all the CPE requirements for CPAs. Now, for those of you that have watched these updates the last couple of years, you know that that's not true. What the bill actually does is for those individuals who are coming into the state and getting a license under the licensure by endorsement process, it deletes the CPE requirement that they would have to adhere to prior to even applying for a license. So that's essentially all it does, which is somewhat duplicative because if there's a CPA that's licensed in another state, they're usually keeping up with their CPA in that, or their CPE in that state. So help us spread the word. Make sure that all your colleagues know that the CPE is not canceled for your license. We have worked with the Sun Sentinel to get them to retract that statement, and also we've made sure that Florida Trend knows that information is inaccurate. But sure would appreciate your help getting that word out. Outside of that, we're going to continue to keep you updated. You're going to get these impact reports once a month. We're going to try to make sure we keep the information flowing. If you have any questions, you can always email us at govaffairs@ficpa.org. And before I let you go, please don't forget when you renew your dues to support the Florida CPA PAC. It is an election year, and we need to make sure that the CPA voice counts during the political process. So thanks, and I'll talk to you next time.